Hello, Ever Studios learners. Welcome to Science Guru Exam Drills. The Science Guru is on your screen once again to do a walkthrough on the National Common Entrance Examination. This is the predicted 2026 paper for the Primary 6 Exit Exam class. So join me as I take you through this journey. I hope you're with your writing pad and your writing materials. Ensure you take important notes as analysis or illustrations are given. So are we ready? Are you good to go? All right, let's delve into it. So I have 40 questions here. I'm going to be taking the first 20 as I move along. Let's quickly look at the general instructions. One of them is this paper consists of three sections: Section A, objective; Section B, short answer; and Section C, theory questions. It all depends on how the exams are coined for the year. Answer all questions in Section A and Section B. Answer any 4 questions in Section C. That's the theory part. Write your answers in the spaces provided or on the answer booklet supplied. Use only blue or black biro or pen. Pencil may be used for diagrams only. All rough work must be done in the space provided and crossed out neatly. Candidates are not allowed to use calculator or any electronic device, a non-calculator exam, so you need to engage your mental faculty. All right, let's look at the section A, objective questions. Like I said earlier, I'm going to handle the first 20 so that the video clip will not be too heavy, and in subsequent videos, I'll make up for the remaining questions. All right, let's dive into it. Choose the correct answer from options A to D and write the letter in the box provided. Each correct answer carries 1 mark. Of course, you'll be given an answer booklet to shade into, but for the purpose of this video, I'm going to be using the writing tool to mark directly in the question paper. So are you ready? Grab your pen and your notepad and take down important notes and the correct answers. 1. Which of the following is not a living thing? The word not has come again. In my previous video, I've laid emphasis on questions that comes with the word not or except. So you need to pick the odd one out of other distractors. So option A says mushroom, option B rock, option C earthworm, option D fern plant. So looking at this list of options from options A to D, which amongst them is not a living thing? So that tells you that the other 3 are living things, while 1 amongst them is not a living thing. So can you figure that out quickly? Is it mushroom, rock, earthworm, fern plant? Of course, the answer is option B, rock. Rock is an inanimate object, or you can call it a non-living object because it does not have or possess life in it. But mushroom possess life in it, earthworm possess life, fern plant possess life that belongs to the plants and animal kingdom. Question 2. The process by which green plants make their own food using sunlight is called dash. So what option best replaces this blank space? Is it A, respiration, B, photosynthesis, C, transpiration, D, pollination? What did you write down in your notepad? The correct answer is option B, photosynthesis, because it is the process through which green plants make their own food using sunlight and other inorganic substances such as water and carbon dioxide or carbon 4 oxide, CO2. So respiration is a process, but it is not linked to this question. Transpiration is a process through which green plants loses their excess water from their body. Pollination is a process through which pollen is transferred between the anther and the stigma of the same or of different flowers through different agents of pollination. While respiration, on the other hand, I didn't explain it earlier, is a process through which food is broken down in the body to release energy. Let's move to question 3. Which organ in the human body is responsible for pumping blood? Or you could also say for circulating blood around the body. A, liver, B, kidney, C, heart, D, lungs. What is the correct answer? I know you will go for option C, the heart. The heart is the muscular chamber that pumps blood around the body to circulate, dissolve oxygen and nutrients around the body for the release of energy, or what we call adenosine triphosphate, ATP, in the end. So liver is an organ that performs its own function. It's not related to this question. The kidney does its own function in the excretory system. The liver is part of the excretory system. The lungs is part of the respiratory system. But for pumping of blood or circulation, it has to do with the heart. So option C is the correct answer. So let me quickly cycle those answers as I move. So initially we went for, I should underline instead, option B. Here was option B as well, photosynthesis. Then here is option C, the heart. So let's move on now. Question 4, a material that allows electricity to pass through it easily is called a dash. It does not repel the movement of electric current or electrons. So what is that answer? Is it resistor, B conductor, C insulator, D capacitor? I guess you went for conductor, option B. So conductors are materials that allows current and heat to pass through them easily. It transmits them from one point to another to power electrical appliances or devices. So let's go to question 5. Water changes from liquid to gas during dash. Is it condensation, freezing, evaporation, precipitation? What answer would you go for if you were faced with this exam question in the exam hall? Okay, what would you go for? I believe you're processing the answer right now. The correct answer is C, evaporation, because the question says water changes from liquid to gas during evaporation. Evaporation is a process through which liquid molecules gains energy, vibrates about their position, becomes lighter and escapes into the atmosphere. So that force or the energy released by the source of heat forces the molecules to vibrate and convert from liquid to gaseous molecules, and it escapes into the atmosphere, and that's what also contributes to the water cycle on Earth. So if you went for condensation, it is not the correct answer, because condensation is when gaseous molecules are converted back to liquid molecules. Freezing is when
Water
turns to solid, or when it converts into solid due to the drop or decrease in temperature. Then precipitation is the process through which condensed liquid falls back to the earth as either rainfall, snow, hailstones, or other means of precipitation. All right, let's move on. Question 6. Which of the following is a renewable source of energy? The key word here is renewable. Which of these options is a renewable source of energy? And energy that can be reused from time to time, is inexhaustible. You can get it day in, day out. It doesn't go into extinction. Option A, coal. Option B, petroleum. Option C, natural gas. Option D, solar energy. What did you go for? The answer is option D, solar energy. All these other energies here are non-renewable energy because they can be exhausted when over exploited. So these are non-renewable. So I'm writing it. You can take note of this: non-renewable source of energy, while solar energy is renewable in this case. Question 7. The part of the plant that absorbs water and mineral salts from the soil is the dash. So if you know the parts of plant very well and their functions or their roles, you'll be able to attempt this question in no time. So is it the stem that does that job? Is it the leaf that performs that role? Is it the root or the flower? Remember the keywords here: the part of the plant that absorbs water and mineral salt from the soil is the dash. The answer is option C, roots. The root possess root hairs that extends into the soil and has the ability to absorb water and nutrients through the process of osmosis into the plant body for the bodies to use for growth and development. I hope you've taken note of that. Question 8 says sound travels fastest through which medium? There are different mediums through which energy travels. Could be solid, could be liquid, then you have gas, or you can say gases or gaseous states. Let me just put gas here. Then we have plasma. That's the fourth state of matter, plasma. You find this in celestial body or in space. The question says sound travels fastest through which medium? Is it air, vacuum, water, or solid? This is expressing different media or platform through which sound, energy, or other forms of energy can travel. So the best option that suits this is option D, solid. And do you know why it is solid? Because solid particles are clustered or compacted together, and compacted particles allows for faster rate of energy to travel through them, unlike water, gases, or plasma. I hope that is taken. Every other option here is a distractor. Question 9 says, which of the following disease is caused by a mosquito bite? We must be familiar with this, especially in Africa, where the battle on kicking out malaria is still ongoing. But in other developed climes of the world, they've been able to put efforts and systems in place with good healthcare system, good vaccinations and medicines to roll away malaria completely. So what option goes for this answer? Option A, tuberculosis. Option B, cholera. Option C, malaria. Option D, typhoid. So what answer goes for this? The answer is C, malaria. Malaria is the disease that is transmitted by mosquito bite. The parasite that mosquito transmits when it bites is called the plasmodium. So plasmodium is that parasite that carries the malaria ailment. When it gets into the blood, it passes the symptoms and you begin to feel the ailment. The state of matter that has a definite shape and volume is dash. Is it gas, liquid, plasma, or solid? Of course, option D, solid, is the correct answer. Solid has its particles clustered and compacted, so it has a definite shape and volume for that reason. Liquid has its particles a bit loose and they can be poured or transferred from one container to the other. They can also take the shape of their container. For gases and plasma, they exist in a very loosed form where the particles are far apart and they move in a zigzag or random motion. So the best answer that suits this for definite shape and volume is solid, and that's why we went for that. So question 11 said the gas released by plants during photosynthesis is dash. When photosynthesis occurs, what is the byproduct? Is it carbon dioxide, B, nitrogen, C, oxygen, D, hydrogen? Remember, plants during photosynthesis uses inorganic substances such as water, H2O. This is the chemical formula for water, H2O, and carbon dioxide, CO2. So what is the byproduct they release is option C, oxygen. And this is what animals, including humans, use. Question 12 goes, which planet is known as the red planet based on coloration? Is it A, Venus, B, Mars, C, Jupiter, D, Saturn? Remember the solar system and the 8 planets that revolves and rotates around it? Yes, you must know their characteristic, their distance from the sun, and specific features that are relatable to them. But remember, they rotate and revolve around the sun. They orbit on their axis in relation to the sun, causing seasonal changes and different variations we observe on Earth and other planets through astronautic research and through astronautic journeys from one planet to another. So which is the red planet here? Is it Venus, Mars, Jupiter, or Saturn? Of course, if you watch animations and all that, or if you have seen some video simulations or models of the solar system, you'll be very familiar with the different planets and their features. We know from research and from statistics that option B, Mars, is the red planet. That is because it has a characteristic red soil. And whenever it winds around there in a turbulent manner, it raises the red dust from the red soil. So that is why it is called the red planet. And guess what? Mars, from recent scientific research or recent space travel, has revealed that it possesses some elements that suggest that life can exist there, meaning it can also support life like planet Earth, which has always been the planet that supports life, including that of plants, animals, and humans. Some pool of water was discovered in Mars, and some scientific research has been ongoing and still going on as we speak. And some research team have been there. They did an experiment to plant potatoes and observe the growth for a period of time. So growth takes place there. Water is also found there, pool of water, and they're still doing a lot of research to see if it can fully support life. If that happens, some of us might be migrating to planet Mars, even though Earth is not fully populated yet. All right. Okay, so let's move on. A force that opposes motion between two surfaces in contact like this is called dash. A, gravity, B, magnetism, C, friction, D, tension. There are different types of forces: gravitational forces, magnetic forces, frictional forces, tensional forces, and many other forces that exist in the physical environment. So which among these four options has to do with the opposing of motion between two surfaces in contact? So when you rub your hand, over time you begin to feel warmth or heat. What causes that warmth or heat? It is the contact between the two surfaces rubbing against each other, and that force is called the force of friction. So the answer is option C, is frictional force. So if you have to complete this sentence, it says a force that opposes motion between two surfaces in contact is called friction. So you could write friction here as chosen in the option. Is that taken, scholars? I believe you're following and you're enjoying the session and exposition. All right, let's do more. Let's go to question 14. Which nutrient is the main source of energy for the body? This is talking about the classes of food. How many classes of food do we have? Oh, I thought I had 6. Yes, that's from previous knowledge, but we currently have 7 classes of food. And what are they? Carbohydrates, proteins, fat, and oil. Those are the 3 major source of nutrients or classes of food. We call them the macronutrients, M-A-C-R-O, macronutrients. Then the 4 others after these 3, such as vitamins, minerals or mineral salts, water, and roughages or fibers, are known as micronutrients, meaning the body requires them but not in large quantity or amounts. But for the macronutrients, the body requires them in large quantities or molecules in order to carry out its daily function or day-to-day metabolism. So is it option A, protein, option B, carbohydrates, option C, fat, option D, vitamins? Which one is the main source of energy for the body? That's the key word. So are you processing it right now? The answer is option B, carbohydrate. Carbohydrate is that class of food that contains carbon, it contains hydrogen, and the element oxygen. So this gives us ATP when broken down. The ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. It's broken by a component of the cell called the mitochondria or the powerhouse to release energy for cellular respiration. So carbohydrate is the answer. Is that taken? Let's move on. Question 15. The unit used to measure temperature is dash. We know that protein is a bodybuilding food or nutrient. So what proteins does is that it provides building blocks that helps to build the body's cells and tissues, and that's what leads to the organization of life, from cells to tissues, from tissues to a collective organs, from a collective organs functioning together, it gives us a system, and a collection of similar systems functioning together gives us the entire multicellular organism. Fats are body insulating food. They insulate the body by giving warmth, but sometimes fat can be converted to glucose or can be a source of carbohydrate in the absence of carbohydrate, especially when someone is fasting or when someone is starved of food such as carbohydrates. Then vitamins are body vitalizing food. They vitalizes the body cells and tissues. They produce antibodies that helps to prevent against diseases. So they make up our immune system. Question 15 says the unit used to measure temperature is dash. This under fundamental units and fundamental quantities in science. Temperature can be defined as how hot or cold a body or an object is at a given time. So what unit is used to measure temperature? That is to say, when the instrument thermometer is used to measure temperature, in what unit can we measure temperature? Is it A, Newton, B, Celsius, C, kilogram, D, meter? What's the correct answer? The answer here that goes for temperature is degrees Celsius. We can also measure temperature in Kelvin. We use letter K to represent that. We can also use the unit degrees Fahrenheit. We use superscript 0 and F. Then you can also measure temperature in the Kelvin scale, degrees Celsius, or sometimes we say degrees centigrade with the superscript 0 and the capital letter C. So Celsius or centigrade is the answer here. In case you see any of these options sometimes tweaked, you can pick from them. Newton is used for measuring force in Newton, that's capital letter N. Kilogram is used in measuring mass, while meter is used in measuring distance. Question 16 says, which of the following is an example of a physical change? Remember, there are physical changes and there are chemical changes. Physical changes are changes that are temporary or reversible changes that can be taken back to their original form, while chemical or permanent or irreversible changes are changes that cannot be returned back to their original form or shape after a reaction has taken place. So option A says burning of wood, rusting of iron, melting of ice. These are processes that happens in the environment on a daily basis. Or option D, cooking of an egg. Now you have to study it carefully. Which of the following is an example of a physical change? So the key word you should bear in mind here is the physical change. I have to process it, differentiate it from chemical or permanent changes, and look for the changes here or the reaction here that can be reversed back to its original form after it has been orchestrated or after it has been carried out. So is it burning of wood? Can you return it back to its normal shape? When wood burns, ash is formed. Can you return it back to wood? The answer is no. So this is not an option to go with. I'll put an X. Rusting of iron. When rusting occurs, the exposure of metals to moisture and air, that causes rusting, which is a reddish brown coloration formed on the surfaces of metals that are exposed. You cannot return it back to its original state. Even though you paint it, when rusting occurs, some particles are lost to the environment because they drop off in form of powdery substances. So this is not an option for this. Melting of ice. Water in solid state is ice due to frost or freezing. Then when it's melting due to temperature changes, it changes back to liquid form of water. So is melting of ice the option? Let's find out after comparing option D as well. Cooking of an egg. When you cook an egg from raw to cooked, does it return back to its original form? The answer is no. So the correct option here is option C, melting of ice, because if ice melts into liquid form, which is the liquid form of water in that state, you can freeze it back to solid state and it will go back to the solid state being ice, and the cycle continues. And if you wish to further metamorphose or transform a state of matter, when it's in liquid state, you can heat it up with a source of heat. The molecules gain heat and vibrate and escape to the environment in form of vapor or gases. It moves from ice, that's the solid state of water, to liquid, that's the liquid state of water, then to gases, the gaseous state of water, and it can come back to the normal state when it undergoes certain changes. Then question 17. The process by which water vapor cools and turns back to liquid is called dash. A question earlier talked about how liquid molecules escape into the atmosphere as gases, and we call that evaporation. Then what about when gases in high altitude, due to coldness of the atmosphere, gets transformed into liquid form and falls back as precipitation? What is that state called? Is it evaporation, condensation, sublimation, filtration? The answer is, what did you pick? Is option B, condensation. The process by which water vapor cools and turns back to liquid is called condensation. Evaporation, like I explained earlier, is when liquid molecules gains heat and escape to the atmosphere in form of gaseous particles. Then sublimation is when solid materials transforms from solids to gaseous state directly without passing through the liquid phase. We call them sublimates or sublime objects. While filtration is that process of separation technique where you separate solids from liquids and so on. Which of the following animals is a mammal? A, lizard, B, frog, C, bat, D, eagle. This is coming back to zoology. and then living things and non-living things. So in the animal kingdom, which of these is a mammal? Remember, mammals possess four. They can stand erect. Most of them are primates. They are very sensible and have high intelligence quotient. Some of them have fur on their body, while humans have hair on their body. So which of these is the correct answer? Is it lizard? Lizard is not a mammal, it's a reptile, it lays eggs. Frog is an amphibian? No. Bat is a mammal. Eagle is under the class aves or birds. So the correct answer is option C, bat, because bat is not a bird. It is a mammal because it gives birth to its young ones alive like every other mammal. It doesn't lay eggs and it's warm-blooded in nature, unlike other animals that are cold-blooded. So that's why we went for bat. Is that clear? 19. The removal of trees from a forest is called dash. It's called B, deforestation. Afforestation is when you replant trees to replace cut down or fell down trees for either economic purposes or domestic purposes. Conservation is when you are preserving the environment from getting out of hand or being overused. While irrigation is when you are introducing water during dry season to water plants. Then question 20. Which of the following is a safety measure when handling electrical appliances? Is it for you to use wet hands to plug devices? No. Overload sockets with plugs? No. Switch off appliances when not in use? Would you go for that? Let's compare option D and C. Touch bare wires with bare hands? No. So the correct answer is option C. Switch off appliances when not in use, so that can help to conserve the energy that is available for use, and that will also help you to cut down on the expenses in buying units for your electric meters that conduct electric current from the electric supply or distribution channels. So I hope that makes a lot of sense. These things are just the requirement to pass these exams is for you to be able to analyze, it's for you to be able to process information in a very quick manner, in a very swift manner, like the speed of light, and use your intuition to deduce between right and wrong answers, especially where there are distractors, ability to separate them and pick the correct answer. And from your mental faculty and your mental processing, you should be able to fathom or to decipher which answer goes for which, especially based on the question. Sometimes the answer lies in the question once you can be able to study it very well and pick out what the examiner is looking for. That's why I underline them at some point to say these are the key words to keep in mind that will inform your answer. So going by this question again, which of the following is a safety measure? The ones with the X mark does not go in line with safety at all. They are not safety measures to be applied in dealing with electrical appliances. But when you switch off appliances when not in use, that is a safety measure. Thank you for your time. I hope this helps, and I want you to continue to make further research, make further and extensive studies as to why we went for this answer, and gain a good grasp of them so that when these questions are repeated or when they are tweaked slightly, you'll still be able to find or navigate your way through. See you, the Science Guru is out.